Welcome to Thinking Hotels Live, our LinkedIn Live series from ABB Smart Buildings. I am Sumaya Bawani, and today we are exploring how personalization and connected design are reshaping the modern guest experience. Personalization has become a new baseline when we think about hospitality. When I think about guests, and particularly if I'm in a hotel, I expect comfort, certainly connection, and a sense of belonging the moment they arrive. So throughout this session, we are going to look at how technology and design come together to make that possible. I can see many of you joining us and you're already sharing where you are dialing in from. So please continue to do that. And we'd like you to also add in the comment chat what makes a hotel stay feel personal to you. So when you go to a hotel, what makes you feel personal when you join? So go ahead and pop that into the chat. We're eager to know what your thoughts are. I know as a mom of two, when I work in a hotel room after a long flight with my two kids, I just want to know that everything works, from lights dimming to the right AC levels, and what a benefit it would be working from all one interface. So I'm really eager to read and hear your comments. So you would see on screen to me today, I'm not only by myself here, I'm joined by a few other speakers. So joining us, we have Inga Hybrix, who's the Chief Sustainability and Security Officer at the Radisson Hotel Group. She'll share firsthand how insights are really shaping personalization, and when we think about comfort, how that is evolving across the global brands. We are also joined by Aldo Shaka, who's the Head of Product, Portfolio and R&D at the ABB Smart Buildings Division. And Aldo will bring systems perspective into this context and really look at how we can have seamless guest experiences through technology. We also have Raimondo Salandra, business line leader for home solutions at ABB Smart Buildings, who will explore how design and usability make technology feel human. So thank you all for being here today. So let's dive straight in on the part of the segment that really focuses on why this matters. So let's start with why personalization and comfort have become such wonderful powerhouse drivers in hospitality today. Guests, what are they really looking for, and how are hotel brands responding to this? I'm eager to hear from you, Inga, on how guest expectations are evolving around comfort and personalization.
Thank you, Sumaya. It's a great pleasure to be here. I'm from Radisson Hotel Group, and we are in the business of delivering memorable moments and making sustainable stays easy in 1,500 hotels in 100 countries around the world. And it is true that personalization has become an expectation. It's no longer a nice gimmick, it's an expectation. More than 60% of travelers actually value personalization and tailored experiences. And maybe to no one's surprise, it's specifically high numbers in the group of millennials and Gen Zers. Now, it's also true that guests who expect personalization also feel frustrated when these personalization expectations are not met, when they arrive into a hotel, as you say, and maybe they're not recognized as a loyal traveler, or the team doesn't know from the data that they have in their system that this is a guest who doesn't want housekeeping every day, but prefers to do a donation for a sustainable water charity, for example. So these kinds of things are expectations. And we see that in the hotel, but actually this desire for personalization and a seamless experience starts from the moment when people start looking for a hotel. They start looking to book and they want to have a seamless and frictionless personalized experience right from that first digital interaction with the brand.
Yeah.
So it goes really from a personalized, frictionless, AI-enabled search across all the channels to the arrival in the hotel, the comfort of the room, and then what is happening in the post-stay communication. And then finally, from what is close to my heart, I must say that, and is my everyday life as the Chief Sustainability Officer, I must also say that sustainability and transparency are also key. We have more and more data about guests. People want to also know that their data is in safe hands. This gives them a kind of psychological comfort. And I must say that of course, I'm very happy to see that the demands for sustainability are also part of that personalization mix. So maybe I'll give you a few examples. At Radisson, we've always been kind of a pioneering brand. So we have been going very fast in the matters of seamless, sustainable travel and personalization. For example, we had pillow menus before anyone else had them, I think. We had free Wi-Fi before anyone else had them. And now, of course, in any hotel room, and I must say I still struggle with that, but in any hotel room, you can cast your own music and your own digital content. At Radisson, what we also do is we make sustainable stays a given. So we make it easy for guests to stay sustainable because people have these expectations. I think, Sumaya, you started by giving a very important word, and that is comfort and reliability. There are things that people expect. There are things that people expect from a brand, but there's also some brands like ours who really have always been putting sustainability in the value proposition, where people expect certain sustainable choices as a given. So we offer sustainable stays as a given in all our hotels, and we're even pioneering with what we call verified net zero hotels. And then maybe one other example on the digital tools, on Radisson's digital tools, not only are they the highest scoring on accessibility, which is also about inclusion and personalization for all kinds of travelers, but we offer the most languages, and we have even been quoted by the Google CEO, Sundar Pichai, as one of the best in using agentic AI across all communication channels to personalize the booking experiences. And then maybe one last point, what I wanted to add, sorry, is in what we see also is that guests want to interact on their terms. So we are all avid travelers. We heard that in the pre-chat before we went live. I think a lot of the guests want to interact with a room. They want to interact with the hotel team on their terms. So it's all about the digital check-in, check-out, but it's also about an e-concierge app. It's about being able to control your room from one spot, intuitively understanding that and doing it on, let's say, my terms as a guest.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing. I think it's a perfect moment to bridge to then Aldo, because I think we really need to look into this technology, right? We're seeing a lot of trends happening and a lot of different audiences that are visiting hotels, but I think technology seems to be constant across all of these audiences and trends that you've mentioned. So Aldo, how is technology really enabling hotels to meet these new expectations that Inga's just expanded on?
Yeah, I think it has been very interesting what Inga said, because it drives us to the need to keep technology like a very important but hidden player of this whole experience. Because the more things, the more this interaction is made complex by not seamless systems, non-integrated, the less, this beautiful experience that you described is then really experienced by the guest in the hotel. Now I go to the experience where you are already into the hotel. You are into your room and you have an interaction point. It's typically called guest room management system. It's, a little touchpad sometimes you interact with. You can do it even with the phone somewhere sometimes. But this touchpad is the interface that the customer they feel they wanna have it as simple as possible. This will allow the customer to interact with all the main technology backbone, the lighting, shading, the HVAC, all the things that bring comfort and a good experience in the room and then in the hotel. Of course, this is an interface. On the other side, there is an interface for the hotel operators, is the property management system. All the systems should seamlessly work and be connected. And then there are these two interfaces, the customer that need to deploy its comfort request and also be a very good citizen in the sustainability game. You don't need room at 30 degrees or you don't need to waste water. You don't need to keep light on, all the time everywhere. But of course, you also need to have very easy scenario to control. For instance, you need a shutdown button that is close to your home. And it really has to shut down everything. Because there's always that cozy lamp, that is on the other side of the room that is not part of the integrated system, sometimes as part of the experience. So it's very good to have a very efficient, simple, human-friendly guest room management system. And on the other side, the property of the hotel need to have a very efficient property management system where it is allowed to establish a brand experience for the customers with all the personalization, but still a brand feeling for the hotel guest, and also to have an industrial scale, because you need also that on your side.
Yeah, no, I can definitely relate to the one button kind of switching everything off. It's, with so much of technology being integrated and making sure that you bring this right ambiance, the great design, user interface. For me, that one button seems to be something I've always appreciated in my business and personal travel. So thank you for highlighting that, and thank you for sharing those insights. I'm keen to hear from you, Raimondo, when we think about the design, as I mentioned, and usability. What makes technology feel really intuitive for guests, right?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Sue. And I think that Aldo and Inge already touched this point. And so now let's jump in this guest room. And I think that successful solutions are always intuitive and easy to use. But to design intuitively, you need first to understand your users. So you need to know their needs, their habits, and expectation. I think that's, for me, this is the starting point. So a good design should hide complexity, as Aldo highlight. When guests enter a room, they shouldn't learn how to control it. The full environmental, from light to climate control, should feel instantly familiar and respond naturally to the guest. So this is my perspective. Think about a guest arriving late at night from a long flight. So one touch dims the light and adjusts the temperature perfectly. So basically the system does the thinking and the guest just relaxes. This is what we are aiming for. And features like tactile buttons, clear icons, and gentle backlighting make control intuitive for everyone, regardless of age and background. We can call this a bit of inclusive design. These features are present across our BB portfolio. I can mention products like Tacteo, Bouchard Linear, or the new Vega, that combine form, function, and materiality, I think, to fit any hotel environment. To close, my thought is that when technology works naturally and guests don't notice the system and they just feel at home.
Yeah, I like that. I think Inga mentioned at the start, there's different audiences as we're seeing, things changing and the needs changing for comfort technology. And I love the fact that we think about these audiences as we design for them. So thank you very much for highlighting that and sharing. But we did say we want to make this a bit more engaging. So we would like to, move on to the polls and love to hear from you again, where you can share your views on which technology you believe will have the biggest impact on personalization in hospitality. I know for sure I have a certain favorite, but let's have a look at some of your answers. And you have 4 options to choose from. So go ahead and place your option in the chat. A is fully automated smart rooms. B, AI-powered service automation, which is things like chatbox and virtual concierge. I personally appreciated this. C, facial recognition for check-ins, and D, seamless omni-channel guest journey. So please go ahead and pop your responses in the chat, and we'll definitely come back to your answers later on in our live. So we've seen why personalization is the new baseline when we think about hospitality, and we look at it from a design perspective and audience perspective. But let's see how those elements come together in practice, which really brings us to our next part of the LinkedIn Live, which is really about design meeting technology. So we spoke a lot about why and the needs and importance of technology, but let's elaborate a little bit more also in the integration. So technology and design are obviously two sides of the same coin from what I'm hearing from Inga, Aldo, and Raimondo here. And when they work together, the result is obviously seamless, and we can have many more memorable experiences for our guests. So Inga, maybe over to you, and you shared some elements, but what are new trends that are shaping how guests are experiencing both design and technology?
Well, I would say that some of it has been actually already mentioned. I think guests are getting, first of all, more and more used to handling when they come into a hotel. Before they come into a hotel, they're used to handling their online check-ins, and they want to do their online checkouts. They don't want, in some cases, they do want to interact with the staff, but in most of the cases, people are really getting used to that seamless process. Then when they get to a hotel, we are using, for example, in our verified net zero hotels, we are using the e-concierge, which is AI driven, to actually also interact with the guests, also on giving advice on whatever they may ask about the surroundings, about excursions they can do, whatever it is, but also about the aspects of verified net zero. And one of the things we are doing there is, for example, to have the extra bathroom amenities, which normally are laid out in a bathroom. And then, of course, a lot of it goes to waste because they may get wet or they may get soiled and they need to get replaced, to have them on demand. But of course, when you do that with an e-concierge that people are really increasingly getting used to, we need to make sure that the response is fast and seamless. So I think there's still a lot of the human technology interaction that is key in every technology that we use and that guests are getting used to. Then the other thing which we see in the guest rooms is what already has been mentioned, is that on the front-facing side towards the guest, it needs to be easy to control let's say, the technology and the lighting and the air conditioning in your room from, let's say, one spot, one control panel, and to have different settings. When you come in the evening, it's a setting that may be an evening setting. When you come in the middle of the day and you are, let's say, in Dubai, then you want a different setting than you want in the evening. So those kind of things need to be, guests want choices. We also have a brand, for example, where we have colored mood boards behind the headboard of the bed, and people really use it. So it's about these kind of little details, but it all has to come together in a seamless control. And I do think that we have seen these examples of robot run hotels, and we have these places where we have the little gimmicky robot who brings your little snack to the room, or who brings an extra amenity to the room. We have those in Asia and in China and in some other places. But personally, I don't believe that the humans can be fully taken out of the equation, because the guests do want also that human interaction, that extra suggestion, that pickup of a mood when someone is in a lobby, for example, or when we see people at breakfast. So I do think that technology is key. The choices are key, the responsiveness is key, but the human can never be taken out of the equation.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree there when I just reflect on my experiences. So you've mentioned a lot in terms of the needs on the guests and some of the technology we've seen coming to life already. And I think integration somehow ties everything together behind the scenes. Aldo, I know you talked a little bit about this, but is there anything else you'd like to add here on how we bridge the guest comfort thinking about our operations efficiency and having that behind the scenes coming together?
I think a good technological backbone in an hotel should be conceived as such. Nobody really cares and understands that it is present. So that's the secret. Technologies are available to do those things today. You can either go single brand, when you do technology, and then the integration comes with the work done by the brand. For instance, ABB, you buy everything ABB, the things works by themselves, or you can go agnostic, and secure that the system integrators that put together all the system in the hotels uses technologies that are interoperable in terms of languages. For instance, if you set up lights, HVAC, even shading through KNX devices, you know that KNX devices talk with any KNX device. Now I'm going a little bit technical, I know. But so all these things need to be set up properly by the enterprises that work into the hotel and prepare the technology background. What counts finally for the hotel guests, and I am one of those, is that you don't care how the hotel is done, but you have a very well designed, easily understandable man machine or man system interface. This is what Raimondo described before. And then on the other end, I know that property management system more or less have the same needs. The people that operate the hotel, they don't need to understand how the hotel has been technologically designed. They need to have a good BMS, building management system, that reports all the relevant data that allow them to make, all the analysis and all the predictive type of job that allow them to make a business out of it. So on the one side, there is my very good experience in the hotel. On the other side, there is an healthy business run by the hotel operator through the property management system. What happens in between should be a secret, more or less.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we touched on the hotel operators in our previous episode, but it seems as, to sum it up, it's about making the systems really talk to each other so that the guests don't have to worry about it. So I like that, how you actually kick this question off. But maybe let's shift gears to you, Raimondo, because I think, we're speaking a lot about the humans and how the human interfaces into all of these technology. I'm just curious to know, when we think about the design and usability, how can we make technology more intuitive for guests?
Thank you, Sue. I think that good design makes technology feel human. This is the key point. So when every touch point from a switch to a screen speak a familiar universal language in the room, guests feel the comfort and not the system. Is somehow what Aldo was highlighting before. In hotel, where of course guests change frequently, it's important to build on on familiar interaction pattern, or like light switch, USB socket, card readers. For example, while an advanced function like HVAC, a small learning curve is acceptable as long as the interface is consistent across all the touch points. So basically, the key point is that learn it once, but then apply to all room touch points, so that you don't have to learn every single panel that looks or work different than the other. So that's why simplicity in digital interfaces matters so much. When elegant material and intuitive design come together, they really create a seamless and enjoyable guest experience. As an example, on a boutique hotel in Spain, lighting, shading, and climate control were integrated behind a single glass interface. So no menus, no confusion, just a sense of calm. We involve a lot designer, operator, and even guest in usability testing to ensure that every touch point feels natural. No, doesn't matter if it's a wall control or a mobile app. So I also to highlight that Inge introduced the very important concept of sustainability. Well, design can be both beautiful and sustainable. A BB collection like Alba, Bouchard, Linear or the last launch of Vega, to use biocircular or recycled material, in case of Vega up to 95% is recycled material, and sustainable manufacturing that are all proven, by the way, by external certification. So my final thought is good design is sustainable, tactile, and emotional. It turns a digital room into a personal experience that the guest can remember. But I think that at this point we have a very nice video that can really show us how the technology and the design can deliver together a great guest experience.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Raimondo, for introducing that video. And I hope you all enjoyed it and really saw how technology and design kind of worked in harmony there to make guests feel instantly at home. So at the beginning, we asked you some questions, and I believe we have the results now. And quite interesting, we were actually discussing it while the video was playing. And most important for the audience today is that a room is fully automated, so smart rooms. Second place was seamless omni-channel guest journeys. And I think this really speaks to what you were sharing, Inga, at the start in terms of where we think things going. And third place was AI-powered service automation, so chatbots and virtual concierge. Interesting, our audience did not rank facial recognition for check-in, so I think we've got some work to do on this one, but obviously lots of great opportunities for what was mentioned already. And I think it's a great segue to our next segment, which really talks about technology and how it evolves and to where is hospitality going next, right? So how will personalization, data, design really shape the guest experience of tomorrow? I think we all know it's the needs are increasing. We have changing target audiences. We have new technology coming into play. But what's going to happen tomorrow for hospitality? So as we look into the future, what will define the next chapter of, as I call it, connected hospitality, Inga?
Of course, it's hard to look into the future, and especially with such technology specialists on the webinar, I wouldn't make any predictions on where technology per se is going. But I do think yeah, Aldo and Raimondo also touched on the predictive aspect and what is happening behind the scenes. I think we're gonna, and we are already seeing this, but not yet across the board, but we're gonna get so much better at predicting in so many ways, and also related to guest comfort and to, for example, volumes of food we need to buy, or how much energy a building needs, or how much water a building needs at any given point in time. Today, that is still done with digital twins or with constantly checking behind the scenes and interfaces that are AI powered together with a building management system. But I think that prediction in all aspects of hotel operation is just going to get so much better. And if we get better at doing that, we're getting better at assuring a fantastic level of comfort for the guests at all times, also combined with a predictive understanding of their preferences. I think we're already very good. For example, let's say I talked about our booking experience. I talked about how we personalize what is proposed to the client. Of course, when guests are part of our loyalty program, that's when we know them best, because then we can understand where they have stayed for leisure, for leisure, with their family, with their business. All these kind of stays, we understand them. So we understand their usual preferences, and we can also predict maybe what kind of stay they will experience next, or we can propose stays. I think also having more integration, multimodal integration, where we can also start proposing things when a guest travels somewhere, let's say by train, that we can propose things, or agentic AI will propose things. So this whole moving to being further ahead and smarter at predicting guest expectations and proposing things will be where we will go in the future. And then, of course, how technology will translate that, I'm sure that ABB will have a fantastic answer to that.
So maybe that's a good point to hear from Raimondo and then Aldo in terms of that part as a great segue to technology. Why don't we start with you, Raimondo, and then we'll move on to Aldo. I'm not sure I can hear you, so let me...
Yeah, so I was mute, Sue. Yeah. So what I think is that soon Room will probably adapt automatically, not only to preferences, but probably to mood, time of the day, and activity of our guests. So the next frontier, supported by artificial intelligence, of course, is emotional intelligence in design. So interface that anticipate how guests feel, not just what they do. So this is the next level. But I still believe that design will keep technology human in any case. So warm, intuitive, and inclusive. So this is the firm point.
Thank you, Raimondo. What about you, Aldo?
Yeah, to complement, I want to elaborate a little bit on what Inge said. I think, yes, artificial intelligence will be very important. It's the technology that is somehow in a buzz moment, but is already providing a lot of really valuable aid to a lot of applications. And I think this making a good use of data, because we can accumulate a lot of data in a hotel. Now, the point is how to make a very good and efficient use of those. There is where AI will help. And I think it will help in two ways. On the one hand, the guest experience, it will make personalization easier, faster, probably more accurate, going probably through a certain learning process in meanwhile. But it's also on the other side. It will help the hotel operator to create standardization that doesn't sound like dumb standardization. They are standardization that catch the needs of the guests in a holistic way. And doing standardization will allow to be also very responsible in terms of sustainability. Inge said we will know the volume of food we have to buy. We will know the amount of energy we will need. And I think also it will help, hotels, even in doing good things in an energy community type of spirit. So you have excess of energy, you sell to the next building. So these things will be possible in the future with the proper management of energy, not only in the building, but in the district scale. So it's all about data and using them in the best way.
Perfect. No, thank you very much, Inga, Raimondo, and Aldo. I think it seems as though tomorrow's hospitality will really be all about personalization, predictive, and also being very planet conscious. And this is bringing together technology, design, and sustainability where it all works in one. So thank you very much for your thoughts on what the future would look like. We are at that part of the segment where we have a Q&A section. So we will be taking some live and pre-submitted questions. So let's have a look and see what we have. And for those of you who haven't had a chance yet to submit your questions, I urge you to do so in the Q&A chat. And yeah, let's have a look at them. I guess, yeah, thank you very much for this one, Amir. There's a electrical technician who submitted it, and it's quite a long one. And I think we can maybe dive into the part that really talks about the durability and sustainability of these systems. So maybe Aldo or Raimondo, you want to give it a shot here, but in today's world, everyone is thinking about making things smart and creating automated technology. And I think we heard it from each of you today. And many companies are working in this field, and this technology is improving every day. But I think we should think a little about the durability and sustainability of systems. So you might have touched on it a bit, Raimondo, and how we think about sustainability, but durability maybe is something to elaborate on here. So why don't we start with you, Aldo, and then I'll ask Raimondo to add on.
Yeah, I can bring the experience because, hotels that have already a certain degree of automation are there now for a couple of decades. So, and they still works, I think one of the key elements is to use recognized brand, brand from large companies that will stay along the time, because if you buy even an innovative system from a small brand that disappears in 2 years, then you are left with a legacy that is not maintained anymore. So that is an approach. Another one is to use technologies that are based on, for instance, communication languages that are somehow standardized. Still, I make the example of KNX that is well known in the in who operates in the hospitality industry. So languages that stay along the time and are supported by multi-brand and brands that have a reputation, a duration in time by themselves.
Yeah. Thank you, Aldo. Anything to add, Raimondo?
Yeah, I think that today is, as Aldo say, there are already we are working and building on mature technology, and today we have option in both wire and wireless, for example, solutions. So when is a refurbishment, for example, of an hotel renovation, the wireless technology come into place. Very interesting because you don't have to go deep in the wall of the hotel and to change everything. So you can work on the surface and to have a wireless solution. Durability is important, I agree, and of course to work with a reputable brand and established technologies is relevant. It's not relevant for everybody. I mean, there are parts of the world where, for whatever reason, luxury, they need to show something new to the customer. They renovate their room every 5 to 7 years. So that is a very short time, versus maybe Europe that is a bit longer as a renovation. But anyhow, the business continuity, the quality of the functionality has to be guaranteed, and I think that this from all the big brands, that are in this sector are today are guaranteed.
Thank you very much for that, Raimondo. And there's a few more questions that's popped through. So maybe, Inga, I'll ask you to please help me with this one. It was quite an interesting one from Rick. And thank you for your question. How does a hotel compete with the comfort of renting a home? So things like VRBO, Airbnb, etc. So would you like to give this one a response, please?
Yes, I think first of all, it depends on the kind of trip you want to make and how big your group is. I can imagine that for some trips, you're more comfortable in renting a home for whatever reason, because your group is bigger or whatever the reason may be. But what I can say is that if you book with a quality independent hotel or a global brand like ours, is that first of all, you know what the security, for example, safety and security measures are that you can expect in a hotel. You know, of course, what the comfort and the brand experience is that you're going to get. You know that you're going to have, in our case, sustainable stays as a given, and we are fully transparent about that. We will offer you reliability in the experience. And finally, hotel brands like ours, we make a true contribution to the community, which is not always the case. And you have a lot of controversy about that from some of these booking platforms that you mentioned there. So I think it depends, first of all, on what trip and what expectations you have. But the bigger groups like ours and the quality independent hotels, they offer all these things which I mentioned.
Thank you, Inga. And maybe if you can stay on, because the other question maybe could be something that you could answer, particularly when you have to choose the right technology. So, how do you decide which technologies genuinely add value to improve your guests' stay? We spoke a lot about what's the needs and where it's moving to, but how do you, in your organization, choose the right technologies?
Well, it's a matter of keeping our eyes open for innovation, and that works back of house, but it also works in interaction with the guest. Following tendencies in brands on what is happening on the market, and that can be in hotels, but also in other industries that are related. And then finally, testing and listening very carefully to the guests. For example, I come back to something I know very well, which is the verified net zero hotels. I said that we adjusted some parts of the guest experience there. We're offering different low carbon menus. We're presenting amenities and extras in a different way. So we monitor that very, very closely in the guest experience. We ask the guests what they think of this. And I think, hotels is one of the places where guest feedback works really well, both public on booking platforms post-stay, but also in guest satisfaction surveys. And so therefore, we have that direct interaction with the guest, which is a privilege because it will allow us to continuously fine-tune what we are offering in our hotels, both from a service and a technology point of view.
Thank you very much for that, Inga. And maybe the next one I'll shoot across to you, Aldo. It's talking about smart tech. And the question is very simply put by Judy. Is smart tech sustainable environmentally?
Oh, that's a very direct question.
Yeah.
But the answer is easy. It's yes. It's not only sustainable, it is more sustainable environmentally than not having a smart technology.
Yeah.
Because it's all about, there is a tendency to think, okay, smart room, it's a fancy color, ambience light and sounds, all this. No, the first things that we try to do with the smart technology is to address the proper consumption of energy, the proper use of lighting. And this is better than not having any control and forgetting, heating system at 30 degrees, as I said, for a lot of time and things like this. So yes, and yes, this is the answer.
Perfect. Yeah. No, thank you very much. Did you want to add something, Raymond?
I will add on this answer of Aldo that is extremely important because who's making the investment? So the hotel owner, they need to have a payback, no? So they are not investing just not for the sake of investing. They want to see a return on the investment. And normally this return is, the first one is the energy saving, and then of course is the attractiveness, of course, for guests. But the first one is by far the most relevant one.
Thank you for that. And I think, I'm looking at time and we have one last question that I'd like to pose to you before we do some closing remarks. But this is from Georgie, so thank you for your question. So an important part of guest experience in the customer service in customer service is receiving face-to-face and that interaction between hotel staff and guests. How can technology impact human customer service specifically? And I think you mentioned a little bit about that need for that human interaction, Inga. So I don't know if you want to share your thoughts there, and then Aldo and Raimondo share a little bit about the technology as we close off with this question.
I would say think about this. When you have a classical check-in in a hotel, which rarely happens still, but it still does happen, then the front office person, colleague, is busy typing numbers into some kind of system and asking you, recognizing you for your loyalty and asking you for your credit card and maybe your ID. And it's all this, interaction based on repetitive tasks. If that can all be taken away by technology because you have your online check-in, check-out, then the conversation becomes a quality conversation. If, thanks to technology, and because the guest is a member of a loyalty program, and because the guest has made several specific choices or requests before, maybe to have, I'm just making this up, a latte in their room when they arrive, well, then we can actually interact with the guest about that. So the interaction can add to what we already, what technology takes out in terms of repetitive tasks, which actually is boring and doesn't add value, to what does add value, which is how can we make the guest stay and the comfort even higher and better and more personalized. So it's a shift to more quality interactions, but the human element will stay, as I said before.
Yeah. Aldo and Raimondo, anything to elaborate on that, on the technology side?
I have nothing to add to such a perfect
answer.
Yes. We know what we have to do as ABB in terms of technology to free up the hotel operators to have the quality conversation.
Absolutely. No, I think it's fantastic that we have the as we called ourselves, technical geeks before the start of this conversation. And Inga, it's really helpful for you to have painted that picture. So thank you all for submitting your questions and helping us drive this discussion. And before we close, I'd love to hear one quick takeaway from each of you, and maybe we'll have. Inga, you go first, so then we'll go to Raimondo and Aldo, but eager to hear and have your audience hear one kind of takeaway from you today.
I would just like to leave everyone with a quote from someone who said, technology is best when it brings people together. And I think that is the essence of travel and hospitality. And that's why we believe in the power of technology to drive personalization.
Yeah, I mean, I think that from my side, intuitive, design-driven solution combined with simplicity, and I want to say simplicity again, represent the ultimate sophistication in guest experience. So if you can really innovate but stay humble and simple for our guests, I think that is what we should look for.
Yes, easy and memorable experience in hotels with the invisible technologies in the background.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Inga, Raimondo, Aldo, and to our audience who's joined in and engaged with us today. We really appreciate you dialing in for our Thinking Hotels Live. If you've missed any part of the session, the recording will be available on ABB Electrification LinkedIn page right after our broadcast here. But feel free to share it with your colleagues who would like to watch it later on. And don't forget, we'll be back soon with episode 3. And that is going to be focused on, is the hotel ready for what's next? I think we got a bit of glimpse of the future here, but is your hotel really ready? So we'll explore how hotels can future-proof operations and stay ahead of the changing guests' expectations. So from all of us here at ABB Smart Buildings, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Thinking Hotels Live.